Hey guys, outside the boxing place here, and I got to make this video. Jimmy, I like Jimmy a lot. Okay, I like Jimmy. I like Matt over at Ancient Architects. I like CFAPS. I don't know his regular name. He's got a little bit more kind of diffusion or alternative view. I'm used to that because of the Ancient Kentucky Historical Association. But I want to make a video in response to Jimmy's video, and I really like Jimmy a lot. But he is mixing two different situations, and the Eye of the Sahara is the result of concentric circle arc discharge from a Vajra thunderbolt. We know that it is not Atlantis because it is 1,300 feet above sea level, which means it would have been 1,700 feet above sea level during the height of the Younger Dryas Ice Age. The water did not rise at the beginning of the Younger Dryas. The water sank. The reason why Atlantis went under was because it was located on a mid-Atlantic ridge, and whatever event happened, which my hypothesis, of course, is the moon, because there were myths and legends about the moon's arrival, including in Sumeria, but that the ridge actually collapsed, and that crustal collapse is a mechanism described by Robert Distinti. But my real issue is that a lot of these channels, which I am huge fans of everyone's work, I really like their work. A lot of the reasons I write my extended plasma electromagnetic cosmology is A, to give you the tools and the resources, literally the citations and the tables, so that you can go forward and do this kind of research. And the citations, for example, in my paper on Boxing Atlantis, were more than 200 citations. Right? And then secondly, I want in the extended part to give room for diffusionists and for alternative theorists. I don't really give a lot of space for the ancient alien architects. I am aware of the Sitchin stuff and other kinds of stuff, but what I focus on are scientific hypotheses, which is it has to be testable, it has to be provable. All right, now we can test the Eye of the Sahara and show that it is not Atlantis. There's a number of ways that that can be done. Um, there are a lot of circumstantial evidences that support Jimmy's proposition, particularly the presence of like elephant remains or gold and copper. But those are regional things that could be found in any place. You're going to find gold and copper at a volcanic location in effect of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And of course, you're going to find elephant remains at the Eye of Sahara because it's in Africa. Now, there's elephant remains in South America, and the Amazon was over flooded by water during some of these mega tsunamis. That doesn't make it the actual Atlantis. That just makes it part of the Atlantean civilization. So when you read my paper on the origins of religions, you'll see that the Atlantean period covers all the Atlantean era civilizations between 36,000 BCE all the way to 12,000 BCE. And then you enter the Tepe period, in which mankind started recording and living according to catastrophe and in response to catastrophe. That's where that started to come into play. Now, at the end of the Atlantean period, there had to be something that caused a massive change for there to be this sinking, and that event would not also both sink it and lift it at the same time. Okay, so when you are doing alternative science, the thing is A, Occam's razor. B, everything has remained testable, and it has to be something that you can either produce in laboratory or you can go and do the work. So, for example, we were looking at the possible stone fort in Culvertown, near to Elizabethtown, or south of Elizabethtown here, right? Very interesting work. A lot of stones laid out like seemingly like tiles, very level, actually all of it within an inch. And so we went and we looked, and we found it was natural. Why was it natural? It's called float stone, it's like a type of mudstone, sandstone, and it's resting on top. Could people ostensibly have placed those plinths there on top of the knob? Yes, it is possible. but there were no signs of any habitation or anything otherwise to suggest. And also, it wasn't even the tallest knob in the area. So you can't pick and choose only some of the data to support your hypothesis. You have to look at all the data. And the prime thing that tells us that the Eye of the Sahara was not Atlantis is not just the fact that all of the ridges are actual mountain ridges and not flat area where people would live, but or that it's oval shaped, but it's 1,300 feet above sea level. So you can't have a story where the Atlantis sinks into the ocean and rises up 1,300 feet. That isn't going to work. That area would have been uplifted quite a while ago. And there are places of magnificent, crazy amounts of uplift. If you go to my paper, Plasma Electromagnetic Sky, one of the tables, I forget the number, has a list of various uplifts. Or no, actually, I think that's in the Unboxing Atlantis paper. And I have a table of, massive lifts and up thrust and down thrust and over thrust that comes from another work which you can look into, like When the Earth Nearly Died, I think is the name of the book. So I'm aware that it is completely possible for the elevations to change even rapidly, but you can't have both a sinking and an uplift. And if you line up all of the other facts just to suit your narrative, that is not really science. That is hoping that something interesting is going to happen. When I set out to write my paper, The Great Pyramids of Kentucky, I set out to prove that it was an Orion Belt constellation alignment. Well, I didn't prove that. I proved it was a Cygnus constellation alignment, which tells me that, if I had just stuck to my guns and forced it to be Orion, that's going to hurt my position later on, because people are going to detract from that. They're going to say, well, look, he's pushing this agenda. So it's kind of like Columbus saying that he found India and Indians, right? He found a new land, but he didn't find India, and he didn't find Indians, right? He found, natives of Cuba. And so when we do alternative science, the main thing is that we have to still follow some of the basic tenets of science. Everything has to be logical, and we have to use Occam's razor, and we've got to check our work. And of course, I think we should cite our work. And just saying, in a video oh, yeah, Sahara has all these alignments of distance. Well, did you use LiDAR data, or are you just using satellite? Because here, I'm going to tell you this. What if Atlantis was laid out and designed according to a cosmic thunderbolt? So in seeing this cosmic thunderbolt, they see the concentric rings, then they upscale their plans. Well, of course, it's going to conform to the same size formation. All these hinge mounds may conform to that. I haven't done that analysis. He hasn't done that analysis, and he should do the analysis. If people will first do the work and do the analysis, and then later on make the assertion. If you just you're looking at it, you're like, oh my God, it looks like Atlantis, I should publish this. Well, as far as I recall, Atlantis had 7 or 8 rings. That is not what you see at the Eye of the Sahara at all. It's only got 2 outer rings and then the one in the center, which is pretty standard for Birkeland current strikes. And it's not the only site of that, shape. It is just unique in its size, because it is actually a massive strike site. And it's one of the most important ones for us to talk about, especially in terms of the end of an Atlantean civilization, because the proximity of the Eye of the Sahara strike to the coast of Africa may have ostensibly been how the celestial body moving close to the Earth caused the mid-Atlantic ridge to expand quickly, causing a collapse in the Azores. So it's not exactly like it isn't related. It's totally related, but it needs a lot more explanation. And certainly I wouldn't go out and assert, oh, the Eye of the Sahara is Atlantis, is the location of Atlantis, just because there's a few details that fit, but there are so many other details that do not fit Plato's story. So that's just, I had to make a response. Again, I really like Jimmy. I like Bright Insight. I like Ancient Architects. I like these guys. But sometimes there's a tendency to jump the gun and make an assertion without having gone back and cited the evidence. And first we should cite the evidence. That's my opinion. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I'll see you later on another video.